Hi, this is Brian Hennessy from Overachieve Sports. Just want to go through how to assemble the Squatmax-MD when you receive it, and also give you some pointers on how to make sure you're set up correctly when you use it. When you get it, as you see, it's a 4x4 foot, 18-inch platform, and I just want to go through the individual pieces. The first piece is the loading tracks. This is where the weight sits. On the right side, you want to make sure that this top square is pointing towards the midline. So let me show you how it goes in. I'm going to slide it in. Be careful with this because you can pinch your fingers. It's a heavy piece of metal. I'm going to line it up with the holes underneath. And then I'm going to take the other one. Same thing, that square is kind of pointing in as I slide it in. And then, like I said, you want to match it up with the holes underneath. Okay? So then you'll see the release arms. You'll actually get yours, there'll be a piece of tape, and that's the one that goes on the left side looking at the machine. I'm going to slide it in, match it up with the holes underneath. Same thing, I'm going to match it up, the holes underneath. There's no bolts, no nuts, you just got to get those holes lined up. And as you see, once that's in there, this is going to be how you release the weight. You push forward, release. Okay? Real quickly, the next couple pieces. These are the rails. To be honest with you, we don't use these that frequently, but if you have an athlete that's going real heavy, it's just another thing that they can grab onto if they need to self-spot themselves. Same thing, what's great about this device as a gym owner is I love not having a million pieces and a million bolts. It's pretty quick assembly. Okay. The next piece is the loading pin. This is where the weight will go on. Just slides over the guide rod. And then finally, it's a built-in box, a built-in seat for doing box squats, and also it's great for having the athletes know that they're getting the proper depth. It's adjustable from 18 inches to 11 inches. The best band that we like is the 1 3/4 inch. There's gray bands on there. These are the average band from Elite FTS. Obviously, you can use a smaller band. If I'm working with a younger population or a female population, this is probably the band to use. I don't know if, as we zoom in there, you can see that there's pegs. There's pegs on both legs, and there's also pegs on the loading pin. So what we found, for every 70, 80 pounds of weight that you use, one side of the band is appropriate. So if you have an athlete that's really strong, using 280, 300 pounds, all 4 bands would be used, all 4 sides of the band. So let me show you. This is one band on each side that we have looped over 4 times. So just to show you the use of one band, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to reach in. So that's one band. Obviously, if you're going to go heavier bands, it's important that you try to get these bands on there straight. So if I wanted to get another band to really have it straight on there, I'd go here and then put that on top so that you don't have a lot of creases. It's a nice straight line. Obviously, you want to have it set up the same way on both sides. So, show it again. I'm going to go back to one band. Now I'm going to show you how to use the device. Depending on what belt you receive with the device, you might have the original Spud belt, or you may have our new adjustable belt that fits athletes. from 6'8" to 5'1". But here's the key point of using the device. This little green piece of tape or blue piece of tape, whatever you receive, that's the key to the device to know that you're set up in a proper position. Why you need to be in a proper position is because this is a free weight, it's not fixed. So this loading pin can bottom out and also can come off the guide rod. But again, this piece of tape is the key to everything. So when you squat on the device, you want to make sure the middle of your feet are even with the loading pin. Once you know what your proper stance is going to be, you want to move forward, stay in that proper stance. You want to stay at the top of your squat. I'm not measuring it down here. I'm standing like I'm going to be standing when I'm actually doing the exercise. And as you can see, I'm touching the green. That means I'm in the greatest spot to maximize the guide rod and maximize the tension of the band. Now, if you hooked up and you were 2 inches short, 2 inches above the green, you may actually come off the guide rod. And if you're 2 or 3 inches below the green, especially if you have a 6'5", 6'6" athlete, they may bottom out and not be able to get the full range of motion of the guide rod. So this is perfect for me. The middle of my feet are even with the guide rod. If you want to get a little bit more posterior chain, a little bit more hamstring, have your heels an inch or two forward, a little bit more quad, have your heels a little bit back towards the box, okay? So I'm going to hook on. This is just one band. I release the weight, and I'm ready to squat. As you see, I was able to assemble the device and start squatting in about 3 or 4 minutes time. Just go through a couple things real quickly. Just to show you how the weight goes on. This can accommodate 45-pound weights. I'm just going to throw a 25 on there. So just to review this again using the other belt. As you can see, this is a daisy chain. There's 2-inch adjustments all the way down the belt. I know that I'm a size 3. There's little numbers on here. I know I'm at 3. And as you see, that's pretty much the same spot the yellow belt was for me. Now, if I was working with a 6'8" athlete, maybe a real big offensive lineman, I may need to use these loops way down here. Here's a key component. When you're hooking these carabiners onto these loops, you need to make sure the belt's not twisted. It should be the same on both sides when you hook up. That's going to ensure that you don't have problems with the band twisting. If the belt's twisted, just to give you one example of how this thing can come out of the guide rod if you don't correctly measure where your hookup should be. So I already established that I should be at number 3, loop number 3, but I moved the carabiner up to number 1, so I'm now 4 inches higher. As you can see at the top of my squat, I'm nowhere near that green line. Maybe it's tough for me to hook this up, but give me a second. So, as I stand up now, because I was like 3 or 4 inches above that green line, look where I'm at. I'm free floating outside the guide rod. Obviously that can be pretty frustrating for when you've got a class full of athletes and you're dealing with troubleshooting. So you need to establish where their hookup is, especially if you have the new belt here. You need to establish what number they use and then never have the conversation again. Every time they come in, if they're number 3 loop, hook up to number 3 and get them going. Just one final point that I want to emphasize when using the belt. I think the best way, personally, to hook on the loading pin is I actually have my athletes sit, get in their nice seated position, making sure they're in their position. Where their feet are is where they're going to be when they stand up. So you don't want to be standing up and trying to find your foot positioning. So my feet are positioned where I want them. Here's the other key point. You don't want this belt to ride up real high on you. Obviously, if you're using resistance bands, Once you stand up, the resistance band is going to pull the belt tight. So what I like to instruct my athletes to do is, as they stand up, I'm going to hold the belt down, kind of on my hips, more on my upper butt, and then it's in a good position. If I didn't hold the belt down, it may have slid up and was more on my lumbar spine. If we're trying to protect, a lot of athletes trying to protect the back, we want to make sure that that sink sits low on our hips versus up on our lower lumbar. So release it again, belt's in a perfect spot. The other last one I want to emphasize is this really works your BMO. Athletes need to remember to not have soft knees. You want to activate those abductors and spread the floor when you're squatting. That's a key point when using this device. So my knees are out, I'm driving through my heels.